Hey, thank you for tuning in to Instrumental Intel. I'm your host, music producer Chick with Beats, coming to you from Kalamazoo, Michigan, halfway between Detroit and Chicago. And I got a show lined up for you today that's got music industry news, instrumentals by me for your inspiration, and later, my special guest DJkage will be coming to join me. So it's gonna be a great time. And so before I go ahead and drop this first beat, I gotta give a shout out to my home station, Grander Radio out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. And with that, let's go. Alright, I am back with the Music Biz Brief. First up, Triller is courting creators through a new website called SaveMyTikToks.com, which offers to back up TikTok content and upload it to Triller. Users can connect their TikTok accounts, save their videos, and transition to Triller, though the process is more complex than advertised. While Triller hopes to gain ground, many creators are steering audiences to established platforms like Instagram or YouTube instead. Meanwhile, Triller faces challenges including declining stock prices, legal troubles, and its recent hire of a former TikTok executive as CEO. The January 19th TikTok ban deadline approaches, but its future still remains uncertain. Next up, Anthropic has settled parts of a lawsuit from music publishers over alleged copyright infringement by its Claude AI model, accused of distributing song lyrics without permission. The agreement, approved by a federal judge, requires Anthropic to maintain guardrails against copyright violations in its AI training and to collaborate with music publishers to address potential issues. The publishers, including Universal Music Group and Concord, claim Anthropic used lyrics from over 500 protected songs without licenses. A ruling on a requested injunction to bar Anthropic from training future models on protected lyrics is expected soon. Also, Warner Music Group has started 2025's music catalog sales with a major acquisition, buying the catalogs of Italo disco label DWA Records and its publishing arm Extravaganza. The deal includes iconic hits like Corona's 1995 classic, The Rhythm of the Night. Warner plans to promote the catalog globally, highlighting opportunities for local genres like Italo disco to find new life in the streaming era. Next, UK consumer spending on music subscriptions grew by 7.8% year-over-year in 2024, reaching around £2.02 billion, which is about $2.58 billion, according to the Entertainment Retailers Association, or ERA for short. This growth includes Spotify's price increases for premium tiers. UK recorded music hit its highest ever annual revenue of £2.39 billion, which is about $3.05 billion, surpassing CD era peaks, though it's still below 2001 levels when adjusted for inflation. Vinyl sales also saw a 6.2% increase, while download revenues declined 3.2%. The ERA highlighted the growing dominance of digital subscriptions in driving the entertainment market's growth. Also, the National Independent Venue Association has launched the State of Live, which is a nationwide study to measure the economic impact and challenges of independent venues, promoters, performing arts centers, and festivals across the U.S. Open from January 7th to February 18th, the survey will contribute a national report and 50 state-specific reports set for release on June 23rd. The study aims to highlight the value of these spaces as cultural and community hubs to secure the needed recognition and support. So I'll be sure to keep you posted on that when the information starts to roll out. Alright, and Apple is kicking off 2025 with updates for independent artists and fitness enthusiasts. Apple Fitness Plus has added new music-focused workouts featuring tracks from Janet Jackson, Kendrick Lamar, Coldplay, and more, alongside fresh content like yoga, meditation, and celebrity-led Time to Walk sessions. Meanwhile, Apple's Shazam platform has begun unveiling its predictions for rising artists across genres using its data-driven insights and editorial expertise. Last year, 2/3 of predicted artists made Apple Music's daily top 100 in 150 countries, highlighting Shazam's influence on breaking new talent. Alright, Burning Man 2025 faces uncertainty as organizers revealed a $14 million shortfall in funding needed to confirm this year's event. The CEO attributed the gap to sluggish 2024 ticket sales and increased charitable donation targets. Despite cost-cutting measures, including staff layoffs, the nonprofit still needs significant philanthropic support. Ticket details for the August event, which typically draws 80,000 attendees, remained undecided as fundraising efforts continue. It kind of gives you an idea of the state of festivals if an event as big as Burning Man is suffering. Alright, next up, Spotify's new partner program touts enhanced monetization and growth opportunities for creators, but let's pause before celebrating. With Spotify's 640 million users, the platform's push into video podcasts, complete with ad-free options for premium users, might seem creator-friendly, yet it's a calculated move to compete with YouTube, the one platform known for paying artists fairly. Helping Spotify corner the market risks further eroding fair compensation for creators, as Spotify's payouts notoriously fall short. While this program promises flexibility and new revenue streams, the question remains, will creators benefit, or is Spotify simply expanding its control over our content at our expense? Not to mention, Spotify CEO and co-founder Daniel Ek just sold another $27.8 million worth of company shares on Wednesday, January 8th, keeping with the trend of hefty executive and board stock dumping. In case you're wondering, he sold a whopping $568 million since his first sale in July of 2023. Alright, and finally, this last news story is kind of a word to the wise. Travis Scott, SZA, and Future are facing a copyright lawsuit from Roc Nation signed artist Victory Boyd, who claims their track Telekinesis copies her 2019 song Like the Way It Sounds. Boyd alleges her work was shared with Kanye West, who passed it on to Scott, leading to its incorporation into Telekinesis, a hit from Travis Scott's Utopia album. Despite being credited as a co-writer, Boyd asserts that she never authorized the song's release or use in an ad campaign by the AP luxury watch brand. She seeks legal action to halt further use and claims substantial infringement on her original work. So with that being said, make sure that when you're creating and collaborating that you have the proper agreements before you start to release something. In this particular case, she said she didn't want it used in the commercial. They did it anyway. So depending on how things play out, she might actually have a leg to stand on. But it's just a reminder, no matter how close you are with someone, make sure that all the paperwork is in place before you move forward. All right, and that's a wrap for the Music Biz Brief. I'm going to take a quick pause for the cause, and then I'll be back with my special guest, DJ Cage. Keep it locked. Hey, I'm a chick with beats, multi-genre music producer and strategist to indie artists and labels. Visit achickwithbeats.com for resources for artists and instrumentals in various genres available for songs, vlogs, blogs, podcasts, themes, TV, film, commercials, and more. Once again, that's achickwithbeats.com. That's ACHICKWITBEATZ.com. Let's make something happen. Thank you so much for tuning in to Instrumental Intel. I am your host, music producer, Chick with Beats, and I'm excited to say that in the virtual building with me today, I have the one and only djkage. Man, he does some of everything. DJ, producer, engineer, video director, you name it. I'm sure I'm missing some stuff. But first of all, I want to say thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule to come and talk with me. And if you could give the listeners like a little bit of background, who is djkage, how you got involved with everything that you do.
And where do we even get started without going through the whole bio? But honestly, like in elementary and high school, I started with the drums and music, and then while in high school, evolved into DJing and house parties, making mixtapes and selling them at my local job. Linked up with DJ Polo, who was a great mentor, and then I went to college. And then in college, the DJing is what paid my way through college and afforded me to be able to actually DJ not only at Ferris State, where I went to school at, but Grand Valley Central. So I was like, being able to headline at all these different schools. So that was a cool thing. But then when I graduated, and during college is when I started to pick up engineering. So like Fruity Loops came out, so software was heavy. So being able to have a studio without a studio, being able to do it in your dorm room is what made that accessible. And that was by having, going to college, I got my first computer. First thing I put on is music engineering software. So started producing in college as well. But then when I came back home after school, I noticed that by being away, the scene had exploded here, as far as like D12 was big. And so the Detroit scene was bubbling up and dreadnoughts and all this stuff. So I kind of had to build my name again as a DJ here, because up there I could walk down the campus, everybody, what up, Cage? I have no idea who that is, but I put my hand up, say, what up, though? But then coming back here was totally different. It was like, having to start all over again. But doing so, then I put all my, kind of tools into my bag. And while I was at school, I also was there for television digital media production. So that's where the video stuff comes in. So I'm just a multimedia school of all trades. If it has buttons, that's my jam, right? So then being able to put all that together. But me, as we may have discussed before, I'm not in front of the camera or an on the mic type of person. I've always been a DJ who produces MCs, or a producer who produces artists, or a videographer or a director who works with other artists. But being in front of the camera is always kind of a nerve-wracking. Even this conversation here is a little nerve-wracking kind of situation for me. But I'm so comfortable behind and being able to produce, direct, whatever it takes to do it. So then, like I said, so when I came home, then opened up everything as a one-stop shop to everybody. So, started working with artists and doing everything from producing their beats, then doing their engineering and recording, to then shooting their music videos. So I could, from an artist, one-stop shop, that's kind of what I became. Okay. So over the course of that, many projects have come up, and we can start to get into all that. But that's basically how it all began and what I do.
Wow, what an incredible story. First of all, I do want to say that that's really awesome to be able to do all those things. And, because a lot of times it's kind of hard to put things together on the artist side of it. So, yeah, you got to find somebody for this, somebody for that. So the fact that you're offering so many things in one place is just phenomenal. So, tip my virtual hat to you for that. But so, yeah, you talked about how you kind of got started in it. When do you think you first kind of knew that music was going to be a part of what you do? Like, what were some of the musical influences that kind of drew you into the industry?
Man, well, I grew up with just music was always in our family. I have cousins and uncles and aunts, the Amin Raz, who do African drumming. And so drumming was just always around me, African dance. So all of this was always just a heavy influence. My dad used to have a turntable, not turntables, but he had a turntable, and my first memories of music was him putting a record on a turntable and putting that needle on the record. And so I was so fascinated by that I remember as a kid just sitting at a turntable going through my aunts, my uncles, all of their records that were just left behind at like my grandmother's house, let's say. And I would just sit there for hours going through all these records that were before my time, just listening to everything. And I would just sit there doing that. And that happened just, as a kid. And then who knew that the technology kind of came about as I grew up with it, so things became available along the way. But even when it wasn't accessible, as it may not have been affordable or whatever at the time, creativity still came into play. So like the story about my first turntables is, I don't know if you remember those triple, everything was in one box. It had a
Yeah.
turntable on the top, it had a radio, it had two cassette players in the middle, and it was just built
Yeah.
like a box. So I had one of those, and a friend of mine had one of those, and we cannibalized them and took the turntables off the tops of them, bought a Radio Shack mixer that had the 4 channel up and down mixer, and put that together
Wow.
as a first DJ set, just to be able to get into it, because it was
Wow.
stuff we had, but we also had engineering, capabilities. As a kid, you always kind of open stuff up and learned how it worked. So figuring that out, the two of us together, we were able to build our first turntable set from that. And that was Pauly Dog who helped me with that. But then he became a rapper, and then I became kind of the DJ based off of creating that
Mhm.
thing. And that was like the first thing. And that was like high school area.
Wow. And man, I will say, and I'm noticing, it's kind of coming back a little bit, but I really miss that era with the rapper producer duos. Like that was,
Oh,
yeah.
it's lucky when you can have those relationships. And
Yeah.
I'm always, even with no matter who's in the studio, I'm always going to give you. I'm not the person just you come in, I'm just gonna hit record, you're done, I hit stop, and then okay, have a good day. I'm always gonna at least give you a piece of what I have if I hear something, or you need something along the way, or you ask something, I'm always here for you. But the DJ MC relationship, I've been lucky to have a couple of those, and one of those actually projects coming out right now is Grand Design 3 with Mike Phelps. And that's
Okay.
that's one of those where we sit in the studio and hash out beats. Sometimes I have beats that I'll create, and they're just, to me, they're a starting block. That beat isn't something that's laid in stone and in concrete. Sometimes we'll start with that as a foundation to break it down, change the speed, change how it begins, and it's all based on kind of what he's writing and stuff like that too. So it works both ways. What he's writing changes what I do in the beat, and then what I do in the beat helps what he's doing,
Ooh.
writing.
So
So it's, yeah.
a true collaboration.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Yeah, okay. So like even when you were talking about building, taking the turntables from different
Yeah.
pieces to make something, I feel like that's kind of like the essence of where hip hop started. Just kind of making do with what you have and making it work so you can make something special. But I do know that you do more than hip hop.
Yeah.
As as a teen, I'm in Kalamazoo, so we're halfway between Detroit and Chicago. So a
Yep.
lot of times there was like this club that had like a teen night. So a lot of times we'd get Detroit DJs down. So, man, to see like the legit competitions and stuff that
Oh
would
yeah.
kind of pop off,
Yep.
impromptu. Like I really loved that era. So can you talk a little bit about, how you kind of dabble, well, not dabble, but, do the electronic thing too?
So I was lucky that as the DJ, especially when I was in college, I was lucky that the era and the records that I was buying at the time, and I'm one of those DJs that started as a DJ with LPs,
Mm.
was JIT and Chicago house, and the mixing of the two together, and Detroit house, of course. I mean, of course, Detroit techno and all that stuff, but Detroit techno and JIT music, all of this was happening as I was a DJ. So I was,
Mm.
bumping DJ Assault, and of course, one of my hugest musical DJ influences that you asked earlier, may have asked earlier, was the Wizard on the radio.
Mm.
Listen, Wizard was how I knew I wanted to be a DJ. Jeff Mills, but
Yeah.
but playing music was like, the records that were being released was like by DJ Godfather, DJ Assault, all that stuff that was coming out of Detroit. Plus, of course, the original Cybertron and all the stuff that we already had that I was, lucky to get my hands on by going to the record shops. And so that was my foundation as a DJ. So then when it led into then producing, I still also, it's the era of the late 90s coming into the 2000s. So hip hop is at its best, at its peak. So when it came to producing, that's, and all your friends around you want to be rappers, that's kind of where the hip hop side of the producing led. But I always had that techno, rhythm in the back of my head. So at some point, I began this series called Jits. Jits. Right now, it's on Jits 4, and it's all my music is available digitally streaming, and parts 1 through 3 were always available on these platforms. But as a DJ and as a DJ who started on vinyl, man, and as somebody who's always produced other artists and seen them have success with the projects that we've worked on, I've never necessarily been an artist myself. Of course, the collab projects were like Grand Design was probably like the closest to it, because there's an obvious relationship. We're trying to project that here's the DJ, here's the rapper. But I talk with my hands. I don't speak. I don't rap. I don't do anything like that. So Phelps still gets the center stage on that. But in Jits, it's all, everything is usually always my production. So I still feel like a huge part of all of it. But when it comes to Jits, it's something that I feel like I'm totally crafting. Even though when I have collaborations on it, it's still something I feel like I'm adding the pepper and the salt, versus like this other series I have, D Imports, which is me producing all the tracks. And and between volumes 1 and 3, I've worked with over 100 hip hop artists and musicians in the city. But even with that project, I feel like those songs are more their songs. I send them a bunch of beats and let them pick whatever beat they like. Those albums are almost dictated, and the beats on those songs are dictated kind of by what the artist decided to pick. Whereas Jits is, I'm crafting that and then picking, hey, June Slow, I got this one track that I have on this album that I'm working on. Would you like to feature on it? Versus, hey, here's these tracks, pick what you like. So there's a different relationship between like those kind of projects. So with Jits 4, I'm totally, that's me. I feel like that's my project as an artist myself. And then finally getting to be able to put it on wax with the help of Archer Records. And man, I'll tell you something about having an LP. I've been a DJ, 20 plus, and I've had music on every platform available. I'm lucky enough to be at Charivari and Tech Detroit, a lot of stages in Detroit, but nothing open doors or open relationships like until you get that LP, especially as a techno and a house DJ. Like having that album is like a stamp of approval here, and that will get you in or get you kicked out too, because you could produce a whack album and they'll be like, all right, yeah, thank you for coming. But man, if you really put your heart and soul in it, and you getting something physical like that is almost like that stamp to certain people, even though for me, I've always felt like I've always proven myself through just the events or the production and stuff like that. But man, you create something physical like that and it just changes hearts and minds, I found. And so I've been blessed to get a collaboration with Rub-a-Dub in the UK. So I have distribution in the UK with this record. But then when it comes to the US, I'm doing it all myself. So every time I'm traveling or I'm in another state, please believe I'm stopping at record stops and making relationships and asking them who is on the same wavelength with them. And I contact them, and I've been able to, see my album in over 20 stores in a couple states, and it's moving along. So I'm extremely proud of it, as you can tell.
You should be. That's incredible. Congratulations. I get what you're saying too about, actually having that LP, like being able to hold it in your hands. I feel like that gives people a different relationship with it. Even from back in the day, going shopping, like to be reading the liner notes or something while you're listening to it. Like, I don't know, you were able to attach to it a little bit more. So yeah, what you're saying makes perfect sense. I have yet to actually do that. So yeah, I know that that's a lot of work, a lot of dedication that goes into that. So yeah, congratulations. You should be proud.
But keep it on your bucket list, because it is totally worth it. And then I was lucky enough to work with, I'm also a semi art collector. I mean, it's also based with the art that I collect is usually people who are artists in other forms as well. So like I'm looking in my room right now, I have Sheefy McFly, who is great, but he's also multimedia. I also have his LPs on the wall and some of the other stuff he's created. But then like Loki, who is a rapper, but then also does art, and I've got some of his art up here, and waffles up in here. So when it came to crafting the cover for Jits 4, Escada Gordon was somebody that Dark Lord Escada, I think he goes by. So if you get a chance to look
Okay.
him up online, he, I shout him out especially because since I've been doing at least since Jits 2 to 4, he's been doing the covers for me. And Blacksmith, another artist who was in Coleman Young, um, he had told me a story. He went to his cousin's house and his cousin had the album. And he was like, "What? You got the album?" And his cousin didn't even know that Blacksmith who was on the album. So his
Mm.
cousin didn't know his cousin was on the album. And then he asked his cousin, "Well, what made you get it?" He said, "Oh, I really like the album cover." And he ended up loving the album too, but that's what caught his eye was the album cover to get it. And he didn't even know his cousin was on the album. So it was just,
Wow.
but it was crazy how it still drew it, still drew him in. He
Yeah.
still ended up with it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it really is an art form in itself. Especially when it can kind of convey the vibe of, what's to come. So yeah, I do remember, man, I really miss like, I mean, I know we still got like record stores, but
Yeah.
the main ones like where you could go, they had the records, they had the CDs, they had the tapes, what do you call those little maxi singles or whatever.
Yep.
Like, yeah, that was a special era. Man, but yeah, something about being able to connect with it, holding the physical in your hands and admire it. And of course, actually listening to vinyl, the surface noise is just a beautiful
Oh,
thing. Like,
that adds the texture. That
it
adds the
does
texture in the voice.
texture. That's
Even
it.
with because as a DJ today, I've obviously moved, and I still do LP sets every blue moon, but I've obviously moved into the digital era. So I have controllers, and especially when doing sets with multiple DJs, it's so easy to do your hour, bring a controller in, and take your controller out. But so I've moved to the digital form. But what did you just say? Because I was reminding me what I was
Ew,
about
the
to say.
texture of the vinyl.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So even with the so as a DJ, I'm in digital form, but I still play a lot of like JIT music and techno from that era because it's still some of the hottest stuff today on the dance floor. I haven't repurchased the MP3s. I've really just recorded the albums, my original albums that I had, and maybe one or two of them had a skip, and I had to probably like fix that,
Mm,
post. But man, something about still having that crackle. So when I DJ and I
yeah.
play those songs, I still have the crackle and everything on it, even though I'm in digital form.
Nice. Yeah. So, okay, you did mention the ease of, doing digital, especially, DJing with multiple people.
Yeah.
But what would you say your favorite thing is about like DJing with the actual vinyl when you do get to do it every now and then?
Well, it is. You really have. There's a different attention. See with man, with digital, you can almost mix anything with anything these days. It doesn't matter the tempo, the original tempo of anything. Everything can be matched, whether you use sync button or
Mm,
not. You can still, if you know your math, you can still match, a 160 with an 80, and then being able to take the stems and all that stuff. And so
yeah.
you can almost create anything out of anything. But when it comes to vinyl, you really have to know you have to know beat matching. There's just a different a different level of education to really pull off a good set. So it pulls from a different part of your brain, and so you really you pay more attention to the beat matching, to the vibes, to how things interact. How one track interacts with the other. Versus now, it doesn't matter because you could take something out before you put it together and before the audience hears it. Pre-mix it. So it doesn't matter what the two songs are, and you can be so creative that way. But and it's not like it was harder, but it created a different kind of creativity
Mm,
that made you have to be more creative, I guess, because it's a little bit harder, and you don't. It's not the ease of a, one button and hitting a couple things. But I do love the digital era because you can almost, the
yeah.
creativity is limitless, even though some people will put the absolute wrong thing together. You see online where
Yes.
people are putting like
Yes.
some of the stuff. I don't want to start naming things because you'll know, but yeah, but the vibe of that, the it's harder to explain, but it pulls from a different creativity, man, and
Yeah.
yeah, you got to know your stuff, and so having those 4 crates, that's what you start with back in the day. Doing a party, you needed a minimum of 4 crates of LPs,
Mhm.
and a couple of them hip hop and a couple of them house, man. And you could do your thing.
Wow. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. 'Cause it's almost like it's triggering a different part of your brain, that you gotta kind of have snap into action. And yeah, I do
Yeah,
know exactly what you mean about putting the wrong stuff together. I feel like I
yeah,
see a lot of that. And I
yeah.
get kind of mad at the algorithm. Like, hey, what made you think I wanted to see that? But
And the fact that people are doing that, and that's the other thing too with vinyl and even what you get from even digital DJs, but the right DJs is that they curate their own list. They're not
mm,
using a lot of people who are coming up and haven't had the opportunity to even maybe they're new and they haven't had the opportunity to curate their list yet, but they're using some kind of service and everything is at their
mm,
fingertips. And therefore, because everything's at their fingertips, they're not curating. They're just playing kind of even if not what's right in front of them, maybe just the top 40 then. And we're already hearing that. So there's nothing, you know,
make it
nothing
memorable.
special. Yeah, nothing
Yeah.
special. Or really, then they may be good at beat matching and putting those songs together, and you know, carrying a tune. But it's something different when somebody's creating and curating an experience and able to pull stuff from any era and have it still,
Yeah.
surprise people.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So, all right, we talked a little bit about the DJing and the producing. Can you tell us a little bit about when you do your video directing? Kind of how you, I guess, maybe find your inspiration or present ideas to the artists that you're filming.
Yeah, it's a collaborative effort. Sometimes you have artists that have absolutely no idea what they want to do. They just send you the song and say, "Hey, what do you think?" And then you say, "Hey, well, what's your budget?" And it's not always about budget, but sometimes for me, one of the first questions I ask is also think of what do you have access to? Like you may
Mm,
have an aunt or an uncle who has a store. You may have a mechanic somewhere who that you have a relationship with, or a barber at a barber shop. So you try to
mm,
find stuff like that first, especially if you want to be on a location or something, or if you feel like that. But you always want to find out just what you have in your what do you just have access to that you wouldn't have to pay for right away? What can we do with that? Sometimes that's the way to go. Sometimes a song will hit you and you say, okay, all I need is a black room and a white light. An
mm,
artist sitting here and it's a mood, right?
mm,
And then sometimes the artist has an absolute clear vision of what it is they want to do for every scene and where they want to be, or just it's a location. Hey, we're having a party. Just come to this party and make sure that you capture good stuff and make a good video out of what we have and have live at this event. That way it's alive and the video feels, nothing made up, but actually what we do.
mm.
So it comes from many different angles and you could attack it many different ways. And those all come from the collaborative relationships with the artists and how they want to do it, or you know
Okay, I find that fascinating. I'm one of those people that, I believe that that's an art form in itself, and that's never anything that's been a strong suit of mine. So, like anytime I watch it, I've always kind of, curious. Like, man, I wonder how they came up with that. That's so perfect for this song. So that's really interesting to hear.
Yep, because just like we were talking about cannibalizing those turntables to create some
Yeah.
turntables to be able to make something. Okay, we want to do a video, and sometimes, um, you know, they got me there, but that's the best. That's what we could do. But I'm not just gonna say, okay, we're here and we're on a porch. We'll look, based on the song. We'll try to at least find stuff, like I said, that's accessible, whether it's stuff that they have access to, but or stuff that's just in the city, iconic spots in the city. But then a lot of people use those, so you try to find what I like also is like buildings with textures or certain lighting,
Mm,
or just something that has a look to it that's not the obvious. Everybody uses the fist, everybody uses the spirit of Detroit, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So you try to just find other elements of Detroit, and it ends up working. Especially if you've lived in the city, you can kind of come up with a lot of these things. But it gives you also an opportunity to look around and explore your city more, to find those elements. And I've found things along the way that I may have driven past 100 times, but until you're like really looking on that street and go, oh, I didn't know that statue was there and looked like that. Right? I mean, just
Yeah.
Belle Isle alone, I found a whole bunch of stuff that I had no idea was there, and I've been going there my whole life, But
Wow. So it takes being open and
yeah,
just kind of noticing, the things around you.
yeah,
That's really dope.
you know. So,
Yeah.
so you don't have to have a huge budget to make it happen, but sometimes that's what lends to the creativity is, okay, well, I'd rather be in a Lamborghini. I had one artist tell me one time, "Hey, where's the?" Because he paid a certain fee to have me there and bring the lights and everything. But then he was wondering where were the cars and the women and the jewelry. I go, bro,
What?
I like as if I had a trailer of
Right.
yeah,
Oh my
like
goodness.
bro, like first of all, usually that lifestyle, you portray it if you actually have it, but if you want to fake it till you make it, you know. I could
Wow.
tell you a place where to rent it. I could tell you a place where to hire talent for this and that. But man, it was so crazy when he was like, "Well, when, when do you bring in the cars and all that stuff?" I'm like, bro,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
not exactly how it works.
Yeah, I don't even know how I would have responded. Like,
Oh,
I'm
that's
just
funny.
mouth agape staring, like, are you serious right now?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it's funny. Well, I have Photoshop, so I mean, we can. And that's the cool part too, is that talking about growing up with the technology, like even though, I graduated years ago, but things have changed and progressed so much since then. You don't stop with that, even that knowledge that you gain. And even at school, it only teaches you so much to a degree. For me, it was like just teaching you how to learn and how to,
Mm,
and a lot of other things too, but how to continually just do it on your own. And especially working in technology, there's a lot of doing it on your own because you have to stay on top of it. And sometimes these things aren't accessible to you. Sometimes there's a piece of gear out and equipment out that is in your wheelhouse, but it costs $100,000. And you're like, well, the only way to, practice and get on that is to actually own that. And that may not be, obviously, a lot of that time isn't
man.
it isn't accessible. But I've been also blessed that in my career, I worked for a corporation for 16 years and then started my own business. And then I was lucky enough to turn an employer into a client. So
Mm,
in those situations, I've built a couple streaming studios for a couple of, because that's the other thing. So besides the videography, I also get into the streaming world. I built streaming studios for automotive companies. I probably can't say the
wow.
name at the moment, but for automotive companies. And then when they have their events or streaming broadcasts that they do for internal broadcasting and training, I would be the AV tech that comes in and or AV director that directs the room. And they'll usually have a producer and a writer and all that stuff, but I just have to take care of all the tech and the people who are running the tech with me. And in those cases, I've been blessed to still stay a part of the current technology and the more expensive pieces of gear and getting my hands on that stuff by, having cool clients every now and then.
Wow.
But, yeah, so that's a really cool thing. But the bummer part of that, which is why I'm trying to dip in and out of it, is that you sign NDAs. You're not really allowed to, I Instagram all my gigs and like all my projects that are coming, my personal video projects, but that kind of stuff we're not allowed to share, talk about it. So it's as much as I would like to,
Right.
it's harder to really promote that stuff. But that stuff and that industry kind of just works with it
Yeah.
within, and it's word of mouth. So that's kind of how I build with that. But man, I am and lucky enough to be a part of that stuff too.
That's so great. Yeah, I get that. That's got to be hard when you just kind of want to tell everybody, guys, look who I'm working
Yeah,
with. But
right. You can't even show it.
yeah,
You can't show the vehicle or nothing like that. So it's all a secret.
right. Yeah. Oh, those NDAs.
Yep.
But all right. I'm looking, man, time is going so quickly. So I gotta offer again. I'd love to have you come back for a part two sometime.
Yeah, because I got a bunch of projects getting ready to drop right
Yay.
before the summer. Just real quick off the top of my head, if I could shout them out, or a couple of them
Absolutely.
out that I can think of. So be on the lookout for Grand Design 3. That's a basically, and most of these, obviously, I've produced all the tracks on all these, but something about that Grand Design 3, like I said, is a more personal relationship and how we craft that project and the way we build that. And so Grand Design 3 with Mike Phelps, be on the lookout for that. But the E Rich Finesse Music, Fidel Cass. Oh yeah, that's another cat that I've been working with since high school. Be on the lookout for the third album we got coming out called El Jefe. I've got a special
Mm.
project or a couple singles with Book Brown. Oh yeah, wonderful peoples. Alexis Salon, got a whole project with her getting ready to drop, and I know I'm probably forgetting some stuff, but man, that's what part two will be about. But just be on the lookout, and also go just check out everything DJ Cage, DJKAGE, all one word that you can check out. I already have streaming on all the platforms. And if you go to youtube.com/DJKAGE, you'll see all my visuals and you can get access to all my musical projects through there as well. So just try to check that stuff out if you can.
Right, that's what's up. Thank you so much. And yeah, everybody, please make sure that you check him out, follow him everywhere you find him. And yeah, I can't wait to do this again. This was great.
Man, a chick with beats, it's always a pleasure, and I look forward to the next time and continued success in everything that you do and continue to do. Like I said, I've been able to hear some of your previous interviews. The one with D Essence was awesome. She's good people as well. So just continue to keep doing what you're doing, and I wish you much success as well.
Thank you. All right, that's a wrap for this episode of Instrumental and Tell. I've been your host, music producer, Chick with Beats. And once again, I'd like to thank you for tuning in. I'd like to thank my special guest, DJ Cage, for coming on and sharing his wisdom and information and knowledge. And of course, I'd like to thank my home station, Grander Radio out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Great shows going on there. Make sure that you check out granderradio.com. All right, so till next time, you know where to find me. Tune in, tell a friend. I'll see you then. Peace.